here, Dry Creek Wrangler School. We've been out working horses this morning. We got some fractious stuff that we're getting miles on, and now we just sent out, how many horses we send out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All the young people that are here working and helping, they just went out on a ride. And so we just sent them out. So I'm gonna do a video real quick. I'm gonna do a dad video. Is that okay? Will y'all let me do that? Okay. I've been noticing a trend in the comments from young people for quite a while of one particular subject that I get asked a lot about. And so I wanna address that this morning. Now, when I say this is a dad video, this is not this is just my view. Mom and I raising 7 kids. We've dealt with this a number of times. And so I just want to give you our take on it. There's not a set anywhere out there, this is right or this is wrong. This is just how we've dealt with it with our kids. I get a lot of young people on here that are just devastated with breakups. 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 21-year-old. And my girlfriend just broke up with me. Me and my boyfriend just broke up. And they're devastated about it. And I've gotten a lot of questions. Dwayne, what do you recommend? So I'm going to tell you what I recommend, all right? I'll tell you what we did. I recommend that you stop, okay? Our children were not allowed to date until they were grown. All right, and by grown, 18, 19 years old. But there were two, I'm just getting my thoughts together. There were many times where young men came to me, 15, 16-year-old. By the way, let me step back. We had a rule. No young man could write letters or nowadays text, email any of my daughters without coming and talking to me first. And I'll go into detail about that. And there were young men that came to me and I said no. And then they've come back, a couple years later, how about now? And I said no. Both those young men are now married to my daughters, and they have good, strong marriages. And I believe one of the things that has helped them have good, strong marriages is the fact that I said no. And both of these young men, I told them, I said, look, you're a young man of good character. I don't have any personal problem with you, who you are, with what you are, okay? My problem with you is you're 15 years old or you're 17 years old. When you're that age, when you're a young person, you are not, most of the time, almost all the time, you're not emotionally mature yet, all right? And nowadays, I know in society, there's kids have boyfriend, girlfriends at 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old. I never allowed that. The reason I never allowed that is because you start setting a precedent, a life habit in your mind. This is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. Now we're not getting along, so we're going to break up and we'll find a new one. And so you start setting a life habit, a mindset that a relationship is disposable. And you start setting that mindset, you start setting that life habit while you're still young and impressionable and forming who you are, okay? I never let any of my children, when they're at home, once they're grown and gone, they do what they want. But while they're still in my house, no one was ever allowed to date just for the sake of dating. Their boyfriends and girlfriends were not allowed. Dating, for me, is a path to marriage. And so I've asked sometimes, they've come to me, I'm like, do you think this is who you're going to marry? Are you ready to marry this person? Well, Dad, I can't marry him. I'm 15 years old. Then you can't date. Because you don't know who you are. You're not emotionally developed yet. Your identity is not set yet. And so that adds an emotional, relational burden to you that you're not developed enough to handle. And a lot of the young people, I believe, that contact me and say, I'm devastated because my girlfriend broke up with me, my boyfriend broke up, it's inevitable. It's inevitable because it's not natural, okay? Now, this is just, you asked me for my input, so this is just my input, okay? Dating should not begin until you have a certain level of maturity that includes you have a job, you're making some of your own finances, you're making financial decisions, you're starting to look in decisions about providing your own housing. But if you're living at home with your parents and they're feeding you and they're housing you and they're clothing you, you are not mature enough to date, okay? So my recommendation is stop the dating. You stop the dating until you're at a point where I believe this is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with. And I'm mature enough to start figuring that out, because I'm mature enough to start figuring out who I am. And they are mature enough to start figuring out who they are. And so now we can start making logical decisions about, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? And so dating should simply be a time to make double and triple sure that this is someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with. It should never be something where this is someone I have a lot of fun with and we like hanging out, and so we want to hang out with each other exclusively until we don't. Because I believe myself, years of experience with other people and with my kids, I believe that the abysmal divorce rate in this country in large part is affected by the dating practices in this country, because we start developing a disposable relationship attitude. Relationships are disposable. If they make me mad, if they don't pay enough attention to me, if they move on, if this happens, no harm, no foul. There is no divorce. We just get a new one. We just dispose of this relationship and we get a new one. And that becomes a life habit. And so now people get married and they treat marriage to a degree. After a while, they treat it just like they've done their whole life with dating. That I'm not happy with this anymore, and I don't feel the need or the desire to put the work into this to make this thing last, because I never have. There's a million fish in the sea, I'll just go find another fish. That begins in childhood while you're developing, okay? So if you're a young person and you just went through a bad breakup, you say, Dwayne, what do I do now? Don't go find somebody else, all right? You learned a hard lesson, and now figure out, okay, this dating thing, when I find someone that we're compatible, that I decide I'm willing to do whatever it takes to marry this person, and then to vow a vow. How many dates you ever been on? How many people have you ever dated where you stood up before God, man, and vowed a vow until death do us part? It's never been a part of the equation, all right? And you shouldn't marry until you're mature enough to make that decision and strong enough to stick to it. Both of you. It takes two of you, okay? So a little short video today, but I just want to address that. This is just, like I said, this is just a dad video, all right? This is how I, as a father of 7 children, and my children that are married have good, strong marriages, all right? They did not develop a life habit of disposable relationships before they got married, all right? And so I think that has a lot to do with helping. And you said, Dwayne, what about the heartache right now? The heartache right now, just say, okay, that was a bad choice. And I don't mean it was a bad choice of that person. That was a bad life choice. I'm trying to figure out my college. I'm trying to figure out my major in college. I'm trying to figure out my career. I'm trying to figure out who I am. I'm trying to figure out what I am. And then you're trying to juggle somebody else who's trying to do the same thing. So, okay, that wasn't wise. I should not have done that. And I have probably escaped a really bad situation. So just turn your focus away from trying to find a boyfriend or trying to find a girlfriend. Turn your focus away from that. Turn your focus on, I need to mature. I need to grow. I need to improve myself. And I need to make myself into the person who will become ready to become that forever husband, that forever wife. Okay? Stop focusing on drawing your strength, drawing your personal identity, drawing your emotional stability from someone who's no more mature than you are. Okay? It doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. Okay? Little short, simple video, and I'm first one to say up front, this is Dwayne's opinion. All right? And so you take it how you want, or don't take it if you don't want, but maybe this view of things will change your outlook, and maybe it'll help you a little bit in the future. Okay? All right, so I just want to help you that. For those who want to know, this is a Savinelli 320 Trevi with, what do I got in here? Carter Hall, just simple Carter Hall. And just enjoying pipes today. And because we're out in the wind a lot, springtime in Wyoming, and pipes are more protected and they do better in the wind than cigars do. Okay? So anyhow, hope this helps you a little bit. Be logical. Be reasonable. And if you're not yet mature enough to be logical and be reasonable, don't start making decisions that require logic and reason. Be logical, be reasonable, be safe, and have fun. All right? And give yourself the time it takes to grow up before you start to do adult things. We'll catch you guys next time.